because unlike many institutions, we're not in a position to raise tuition dramatically to make up for the losses that we've suffered, and we have lost more than $27 million over the past few years in our state funding. And so we do worry a great deal about that. I think realistically, if our policymakers don't want us to raise tuition, then they have to understand that in order to be competitive with universities in other states and other places, to keep the best faculty, to maintain our facilities, to do all the things that are important to a quality education, they're going to have to spend a little bit more money on higher education and public education. I don't understand, frankly, as committed as I am to education. Obviously, I'm biased about this, but frankly, education is such a wonderful investment. There can't possibly be a better one. You invest in people, and these people then perform and produce and pay taxes and do all the things that you want your population to do. There can't be anything wrong with that, in my view. And I think we have tightened belts and we have cut corners over and over and over again. And frankly, I think you reach a point where you can't do that anymore. And so I'm hopeful that because the state's economy is booming with the energy opportunities that have developed, and there is a surplus in the state coffers, this may be the time to think about making that investment, because we know from all the data that we have that the yield on this kind of an investment is far greater than any other thing you could do with state funding. Over the long term, it's going to pay rich rewards. So I just hope that others will see it that way. Of course, we'll do our best to try to convince them.
Speaking of tuition, do you worry that at some point we might price, some of those kids, some of those first-generation students out of the education market?
Well, UTEP's been very disciplined about this. We've been very careful, and we've not raised tuition. We didn't raise it this year again, and we have the lowest net price of any university in the United States, according to the U.S. Department of Education, any research university. And our out-of-pocket cost is extremely low for our students. Any student whose family income is $30,000 a year or less has no out-of-pocket cost. And I think there are very few institutions that can do it on the scale that we do it, because so many of our students have modest means. We take that very seriously and understand that affordability should never be the primary barrier to students accessing higher education. So affordability is the first and most important value. If you can't get past that, then nothing else much matters. If they can't afford to come, then you're not. It doesn't matter what kind of GPA they have or anything else, they can't come. So you've got to get past that. And many of our students, of course, benefit from Pell Grants and a lot of other financial aid on a needs basis. But we're always talking about this. We squeeze every dollar in every way that we can, because we respect our students and their talent, and we don't want money to be the deterrent for them.
Give me a status update on all this construction mess that you have on campuses. Will it be finished in the next 100 years?
Well, there are days when I might even ask myself that question, but I think there is hope, Ramon. Yes. Okay. We started on this as a centennial project, and it's something you've heard me talk about, a lot, about eliminating vehicles from the center of the campus.
Right.
I felt that, with the growth in the student population and the number of vehicles, it was just unsustainable. We couldn't do it. But we couldn't do what we wanted to do in closing the center until we got all the peripheral roadways. And TxDOT has been a wonderful partner. The City of El Paso has been a great partner. Both of them will be at the University Partners Convocation because of the work that they've done to enable us to become the campus that we want to be. But even from an aesthetic point of view, having harsh parking lots and streets, asphalt streets, right in the middle of our campus core, it just didn't do justice to these beautiful Bhutanese buildings and so on. So, this was something we really wanted to do, and it was a legacy that we wanted to be as part of the centennial. And so we embarked on it, and we raised the funds, and everything was rolling along until we started digging holes, and then we discovered huge utility infrastructure issues that had to be addressed. And that's sort of thinking about the second 100 years. You've got to lay the foundation for the second 100 years. You could Band-Aid over, you could cover up those utility issues, but they would emerge very quickly with electrical outages or gas leaks or water leaks or who knows what. And so we replaced nearly everything, including, of course, fiber for technology and so on. So under the ground is a beautiful new utility infrastructure that no one sees. No one sees it, but it's there, and we know that it's going to lay the foundation for success in the second 100 years. Now we're starting on the portion of the construction that everyone expected to happen 6 months ago or more. And I think that will go reasonably quickly. Still some issues relating to just getting the workforce moving and some of the detail. But we have a wonderful plan, and we have great architects who have landscape architects who have been just very thoughtful and caring about our environment. And we're recreating water drainages in the center of the campus, the arroyos that were eliminated years ago and covered up with asphalt, so that rainwater, instead of permeating the earth, was racing down. You probably remember the flooding at Hawthorne and University, and that's because the water just rushed down the asphalt street called Hawthorne and flooded, because then the wastewater or the drainages, those pipes were not adequate to absorb it all as quickly as it came. And so we're changing out all of that and putting in the original drainage system that was there, the arroyos that were there, the tributaries, if you will, to this big arroyo that comes through the campus. So when we get the monsoon rain in the Franklins and the water starts to come down, it'll permeate more into the soil and we'll recapture more of it. And we hope at some point to have a wastewater treatment plant on the campus so that we can irrigate with our own treated wastewater, which would have a huge impact. We can't access Purple Pipe because we weren't on the grid, right? So we're going to create our own, and these are ideas that we have that I think are going to be very helpful in conserving water in a region that must do that going forward. So those are the ways in which we're thinking about the second 100 years as we do this campus transformation. So I think by the end of this calendar year, this 2014 centennial year, we will have a Centennial Plaza, and we will have the basic outlines of that whole central core. Then we have other portions of the campus to begin working. But it's very exciting, and I think it's going to be quite beautiful. And finally, the landscape surrounding the buildings is going to be worthy of those buildings.
And what the ultimate goal is to have mostly a pedestrian-friendly campus, close to vehicles?
Yes, the whole idea is that you have a peripheral kind of roadway and parking garages or parking lots on the periphery, and then people walk in from whatever point on that peripheral road they park, so they'll come into the campus on foot. And that way we will have an area at the center of the campus for events and activities, but it will also create a space where people can just relax. You may have seen in front of the psychology building, we have some new shade structures, and we're trying to create spaces where people can just informally get together and sit, and there'll be shade. Shade is real important. Two things, shade and water, they're real important in the desert, and I think that's what we're trying to provide.
Right. How much more time do we have?
It's running out.
We've been talking for 46 minutes. If you need to leave soon, just holler.
I probably should.
Yeah. Well, let me try to wrap it up.
Okay.
I mean, I know you're not going to answer, but I have to ask you, at what point would be a good point to pass the torch, you know. I mean, you and I, we're not gonna live forever. I mean,
We're not?
well, I think you might, but I'm not.
Okay.
But I mean,
Well, let's accept that as a given.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, the way I think about this, Ramon, is that as long as I feel I'm having an impact, and as long as I'm enjoying working in this capacity, I see no real reason to stop. As long as I'm healthy, as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and most importantly, as long as I feel that I'm having and others feel that I'm having an impact. I want to do as much as I can to move UTEP's agenda along, but obviously there will come a time when I won't be able to do that. And whenever that is, okay, it'll happen. But I have no plans.
okay, that's a fair answer. But just a follow-up question, and I've asked you this in the past, you know, what do you hope your legacy will be in El Paso and UTEP? Is it all I mean, I've been around long enough to know how different this campus looks just from all the new buildings, you know.
Yeah.
But it's more than just bricks and mortar, I would
Definitely.
imagine.
Yeah, no. I mean, the bricks and mortar are part of an institution's becoming everything that it can be. And I think for me, what's probably most important is the idea that we were able to enter